I know that you were born in Houston,
I was.
but shortly after you were born, you were essentially adopted by your aunt and her husband,
Hmm.
and you grew up in Missouri, a small town. Tell me a little bit about life as a kid in that town in Missouri, Mount Vernon, Missouri.
Some people like to pronounce it Missouri or Missouri. I usually pronounce it Misery. Um, for
With apologies to people in Missouri, please.
yeah, hey, if you live in Missouri and you are different, like I am, you get what I'm saying. If you live in Missouri and you're not like super different than everybody else, then great, you love Missouri, which is fine. But anybody growing up in Missouri that was just slightly different than the norm understands what I say when I mean that. Because growing up in Missouri, for me, I remember once. God, I had to have been like maybe 5 or 6. And I was in this coffee shop with my dad. And, every morning we'd go into this coffee shop before you'd go out and work on the farm. And all the other farmers were in there, 5:30 in the morning before it even gets sunny. And one of the old farmers looked at me and he's like, "Boy, you're an odd one, aren't you? I don't think you belong here. You belong in New York City or something." And
Wow.
I was like,
how old were you?
5 or 6 maybe. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. And I remember that thinking, yeah, I don't even know what New York City is, but I agree with you. This is not for me.
What did it mean when you were a little kid feeling different? Because I have to assume that, as a 5, 6, 7, 8, 9-year-old, maybe you had feelings that you would later recognize as being a gay boy and then man, but at the time you probably didn't have language for that. So what did being different mean?
Yeah, no, I absolutely didn't have language for that. I would say didn't have language for that really until I was 12 or 13. And my school got the internet, and I started going down a rabbit hole of what these feelings were. I can't say I can really articulate what made me feel different. I just knew I was. I just knew I wasn't into going out on the ranch, and I hated playing baseball, and like I just not that all gays don't like sports. Some gays like sports, but for me it didn't feel right to me, and so I did not fit in with the rest. I don't want to say all the guys, but I did not fit in with the majority of the attitude and the So I didn't feel a part of it. And at the time, again, I had no idea that part of it was me being gay. I just knew I didn't fit in.
What about church? I know this has come up from time to time in your life. I'm an aversion to it today, but I imagine it's connected to just maybe the trauma of going to church and hearing people say things that made you feel excluded as a kid.
I will put it this way. I still have a negative physical reaction when I drive by a church.
Wow.
Like I cannot help but almost hiss when I see a church when I drive by, because it brings back such negative memories of a place that proclaims to have unconditional love, and a place that everyone is accepted and welcomed, and it is your family in your entire life, until one day they find out that you are not exactly the same as everybody else, and they completely turn their backs on you. It was the first devastating heartbreak of my life, and one that will never heal.
It's so sad to hear that. I'm sure people listening to who may be people of faith who go to like here where I live in the Bay Area in San Francisco. Obviously, there are many well-known LGBTQ churches and synagogues and community centers, and obviously your experience was very different because of where you were. It was a small town.
For me, I mean, I love that there are those churches out there, because I do think that church can create a great sense of community.
Being sort of quote unquote different, not only meant you were less interested in sports, but also it meant that you were kind of interested in things like design. Like I read that you were really into Legos, or you noticed the Michael Graves collection at Target, which I remember was revolutionary. The teapots and the toasters.
I still have the teapot given to me by Michael Graves.
And you remember seeing that as a kid, and sort of, because most kids, 12, 13-year-olds would pass by that and just be like, toaster, but like what you saw that and you're like, huh, this is interesting.
Well, yeah, to me, I walked by that and objects had always been very utilitarian before. Like, a spoon, you used it to shovel food in your mouth. A plate that you carried your food on it, a tea kettle, and, you made tea in it, boiled water. That's what it was for. I had never looked at an object and thought, this object brings me joy.
Yeah.
And I can shovel food in my mouth with it. It wasn't until the 𝐦𝐚𝐳 collection that I was like, oh, there are people out there actually thinking about the way things not only work, but how they make you feel. And I at the time I couldn't articulate it because I could never have imagined at that time in my life that I would be able to do what I do today. But it kind of opened my mind to there's way more out there than farming.
If you like this clip and you want to watch another one, click right here. And if you want to watch the entire episode, click right here.